The FNaF fandom. I promise it's not all that bad. There are actually some really talented people associated with the community, from those who can draw, game design, animate, and create songs. FNaF songs are what define the community over everything else. You can mention this game to someone and 9 times out of 10, they'll do this. In that case, you might want to call someone, but it really shows how taking the idea of a song, which is a short poem or other sets of words, to set the music or meant to be sung. Why'd I just explain? And combining it with the game about possessed robots gets you over 300 million views. Now, of course, that wasn't the case for every single one. In fact, it was becoming quite oversaturated around 2015. There was some light at the end of the tunnel, with one channel having the idea to do the FNaF games as a musical. Who the fuck are you? Ew! What the fuck? We're just gonna potentially save that for another day. What I meant to transition to was Random Encounters. The channel was created on June 7th, 2011 by AJ and Peter, where they would upload video game musical parodies, with their first being Sing-a-Choo, a Pikachu song. For the first video, it surprisingly holds up well today. It could be quite funny, especially at the end where he's told he isn't actually Pikachu and he just walks off all sad. Random Encounters until FNaF was doing already pretty good. 2013 had them over 20,000 subscribers and 40 million views. However, like the case I mentioned in my Pymation videos, which you should 100% check out after watching this, I'd argue their big break was Five Nights at Freddy's The Musical. It's a series taking elements of the FNaF games, which is like a small indie thing, I might have talked about like once or twice on the channel, to create their own wacky world with an overarching story that plays out through more than just the original Five Nights. Yes, you heard that right. There is in fact more to this series that is going on to this day. There's even one in production called Dark Remains. We're gonna go over every single one of these and rank them all at the end. So if you enjoy that, consider subscribing and also give my Twitter a follow. And lastly, join the Discord server to meet many cool people. Back to the video as we start with released on June 26, 2015, we follow the new night guard at Freddy's, played by Mark Edward, or more commonly referred to as Markiplier. One might assume Random Encounters only got him for his status with the FNaF fandom, and while that might be true to some extent, it's also because Mark had already been in other projects with these guys like The Resident Ennis and My Date with Captain Falcon. That mixed with him being known as the king of FNaF, it only made perfect sense to get him for this. With Mark being a newbie, he doesn't care to listen to the phone guy's heads up that the animatronics are friendly, thus panicking when Freddy and friends start moving around. This is when we hear the guy sings, which are fun to listen to with their silly voices. I sadly can't play anything audio related, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Or just watch the series because it's good. Freddy is played by Xavier Mobus, Bonnie is played by AJ Pickerson, and Chica is played by Sarah Williams. The main trio are discussing about the new night guard and set off to go say hi to him, to where, like I said, Mark starts panicking. He closes the door to keep them away, but the animatronics take this as him being trapped in the office. Chica goes to get Foxy's help, who is played by David King, so now he helps by bashing the door. Foxy gets another idea to go through the vents to get in the office. Meanwhile with Mark, he tries to fool him by making a mask to seem like one of them. While that's going on, Freddy tells Chica to go to the kitchen, which, well, now that I'm saying it out loud, kinda sounds a bit sexist. Why does Freddy tell her to go to the kitchen? Like, I get because the camera's down, but like, how is that relevant to what's going on? Anyways, while Foxy gets the hot for Mark's mango cosplay, they both get distracted by Chica's loud crash in the kitchen, which Mark uses this as a chance to push Foxy back in the vent, sealing it shut. This also stops any airflow from coming in, and Mark slowly starts losing his mind as the night gets progressively even worse, as he learns he was supposed to be winding a music box the entire time to keep the puppet sleeping. And also, now the power is running thin. Once running out, the place goes dark. Freddy and friends take this as a chance to cheer him up by singing a song together, where it ends with apparently Purple Guy showing up. Nah, it's just AJ. He's AJ. He's also here for the morning shift since Mark had made it to 6 AM. He celebrates though, realizes he is scheduled for another 4 nights. It's a classic. Honestly, who is surprised to learn that this is very much still fun to watch to this day? Will the next night be better than this? Only one way to find out. Released on June 27th, 2015, the second night follows Mark returning to the pizzeria. Instead of him being in fear of the animatronics, however, he is armed and ready to make it through this night. The whole video he's singing about his weapons while showing them off with the ultimate goal of surviving the 5 nights. Here and there we'll see the animatronics, though this time they have no singing role, only being in fear. It ends rather abruptly when he aims at the door waiting for Foxy to show up, only for the janitor to come instead. He doesn't realize it until it's too late and gets arrested for it. Even with this being shorter, I still very much enjoy this. For the sake of the ranking, it would have to go under Night 1 for the fact that it does have less going on. Fun fact, this was actually meant to be the end of the series since random encounters didn't know how popular these would be. However, when the numbers with the ad revenue came in, boy, you better believe more were on the way. The only problem would be getting a new night guard since Mark was out of the picture. Will a new night guard affect the quality of the series? Well... Released on August 28th, 2015, the third night introduces us to our new night guard played by Nathan Sharp, or more commonly referred to as Nate Wants to Battle. Just like Mark, Nate had a prior role on the channel, plus his status with the FNaF community being the fact that he literally creates songs of the game, made him a no-brainer addition to the series. His character differs from Mark as he actually worked at Freddy's, making him more experienced with the wacky problems Freddy and friends get into. The only reason he returned now is to earn some money, but speaking of the wacky problems, this night a package arrived out of nowhere. Bonnie seems very curious about what's inside, opening it just a little before Freddy and Chica explain why that's a bad idea. Bonnie begrudgingly goes back to put it together before seeing a torn hole to which he gets kidnapped afterwards. Freddy and Chica quickly realize Bonnie is gone, so they look around the pizzeria to find him. Chica goes into the kitchen before being captured herself, while Freddy goes to Pirate's Cove to see if Foxy could help. This is where it's revealed that the monster on the loose is Springtrap. Springtrap eventually starts heading for the night guard. Good thing this door can be locked. That's weird. Usually that only happens when Springtrap is about to, I don't know, eat the night guard. Until Super Freddy shows up, who is Golden Freddy, but not really Golden Freddy because he might not actually exist in this universe. Instead, it's like a superhero form of Freddy. It was a whole thing back in 2015 that I won't go back to. It doesn't even really matter since Freddy fails to save the day and the puppet shows up to stop Springtrap until getting his wires caught in the fan, thus destroying him. Foxy then appears from the vent, with the vent cover falling right on Springtrap, knocking him out temporarily. The Fazbear gang used this time to talk to Nate about how to stop Springtrap since the puppet is, well, you know, dead. Bonnie says he knows a guy who could help, and that is where this video ends. Overall, it's a great addition to the musical lineup, one of which I feel is better than the previous Night 2, yet not surpassing the original Night 1. How will Night 4 fare in this ranking so far? Well, we'll find out after taking a look at... The longest gap between nights is the fourth one, coming out on June 24th, 2016. Now, this was because Random Encounters wanted to get Markiplier back for this. However, a month after Night 3 released and the production of the fourth one was starting, Mark was going through personal problems. The people at Random Encounters gave him the time and space he needed, and eventually Mark came back. The next chapter has Mark escaping any jail time after the cops return to the car and realize they forgot to lock it. Fun fact, the two cops here are the voice actors for Freddy and Chica. Mark eventually makes it back to his house, where he changes his hair red and removes the glasses to make it harder for police to find him. Well, at least in the story. In reality, it was because it was the YouTube dyed hair phase. Mark settles in for the night as Nate and the animatronics make it to his house. The animatronics go inside to get Mark's help, while Nate stays in the car with the plan to keep Springtrap from leaving the pizzeria, which is a Balloon Boy style robot he can control via a laptop. The song has Mark defending himself against Freddy and friends while Nate tries to hold on distracting Springtrap long enough. It's a perfect duet between the two with funny gags like Mark shutting the door on Chica and then Chica just kinda accepting that. Eventually, Springtrap gets a hold of the Balloon Boy and tears it up, giving us this extreme reaction. Like, I can't help but chuckle anytime I see it. Eventually, everyone gathers around the bedroom and explains the whole situation to Mark. At first, he refuses to help, until Nate convinces him that helping him would clear his name of any wrongdoing. The video ends with them all driving off, trying to figure out a plan to stop Springtrap. This one I have to say is my favorite out of any of the videos. Hearing both Mark and Nate sing is a blessing. Every animatronic here has a funny moment and also biased reasoning. With the fact that I was in VR chat with Henry Stain and we were playing the song, singing together, and without any planning, we both were able to do the part where Mark and Nate sing at the same time, where I was Nate and Henry was Mark. It was honestly the coolest moment ever, and we practically got married the next day because of it. Since I did say this would rank first on my list, does that mean Night 5 failed to end on a good note? Well, let's see what they did. It starts with the gang arriving at the pizzeria, where we see the aftermath of Balloon Boy. Luckily, Springtrap is still in the building, so Mark throws his knowledge that since Springtrap is made of, well, spring locks, they can use that to their advantage since they tend to fail when they get wet. The plan ends up being to grab a fire extinguisher to use on him. The song has the animatronics being guided by Nate to find one that hasn't already been taken, while Mark sets up a trap. Foxy, Freddy, and Bonnie attempt to find one but fail. As for Chica, she's able to locate one in the kitchen. However, Springtrap is also there, leading her to get chased by him. Luckily, she gets back into the office in time where Mark uses his trap and Nate fires at him. It doesn't work. Then in a big twist, Purple Guy shows up out of nowhere. Nah, it's just AJ. He's not in a great mood. It's revealed that he's behind Springtrap and that he was only ever meant to be just scary, and sometimes he gets a little carried away. His plan was to scare off any night guard so that he can get more hours. Nate says he never even wanted the job and that Mark is wanted for a crime, so they practically let AJ have the night shifts. Everything seems to be wrapping up really nicely until the door closes on its own and Phone Guy gives a call, revealing that they were all supposed to turn on each other by now, but since they didn't, he's gonna drop by the office to deal with this himself. We then get to see who our villain is being played by, being Matthew Robert, or known as MatPat, playing as himself? Phone Guy? Scott Cawthon? Purple Guy? It's a little confusing, and that is where this one ends. Overall, Night 5 is great, but we'll have to go at the bottom of my list since I feel like everything before was just a little bit better. There's also the fact that it's a to be continued, to which now we have to ask, how does this all end? Is it any good? To know, we have to check out. This is taking all the nights and combining it into one video while adding parts in between each night to make it all flow together. I enjoy the parts between night 1 and 2, how they work around Mark's different hair color, being covered by a pillow and hiding his face entirely. It really works and overall is the best way to watch the series nowadays. It also comes with the ending where MatPat kills AJ and knocks Freddy out. He's about to finish the job on the rest until Mark lets go of Springtrap and he attacks MatPat. This causes his flamethrower to go off and makes the pizzeria catch on fire. Mark overrides the door controls so they can escape and everyone manages to make it out, leaving MatPat and Springtrap to burn. Now everything seems to be wrapping up well until Nate gets a phone call from MatPat, who is actually still alive, just in jail. He doesn't really seem to care though as he throws the phone into the water. We also see Mark, who is now living the dream since I assume they started a game company with one of them being completed, and Freddy pitching the name of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh sure, take all the credit.
While the series is done, there's still more videos, and I'm going to try to keep it short this time since these all do take place before FNaF the Musical, released on October 28th, 2016. Blood and Tears is really different from what came before, and really after, with Baby singing about how she desires to leave the underground building she is trapped in as she keeps being experimented on, but is in fear if she'll get recaptured if she makes an attempt to escape. She is enraged by the horrible circumstances of living underground for so long that she attacks the night guard, who is AJ, but the clock hits 6 AM and that causes her to stop working. AJ quickly makes it to the phone and calls his boss to ask for a different position, to which he gets a part at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, leading to the events of FNaF the Musical. It honestly is really good with how big and grand the music is, and how the actress for Baby, Sparrow Rain, is doing an amazing job at holding this video together, since it practically lives or dies based on her performance, and she makes sure to go all out with the acting and singing. My favorite part is when she's about to say blood and tears, but gets cut off at blood and, as AJ comes in. However, she continues once he comes closer, singing the word tears loud and proud. Honestly, this has to go above Night 5 for me, but behind Night 2. Can any of these also surpass some of the original nights? Let's find out with... Released on August 24th, 2018, we see the origins of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, managed by Mike, who is played by Charlie Green, or known as CG5. It follows MatPat handing over the management to Mike since his hands are already full at the moment, and we see Mike try his best to maintain the pizzeria, doing whatever necessary like salvaging, selling, and buying slightly used things. CG5 brings a really nice singing voice to the series since, well, he's kinda got like a huge channel for his singing, especially about FNaF. I love the jokes they do with Orville just being weird and causing Mike to go insane. I sadly won't get too attached to Mike since he does die in the end due to something. It isn't revealed what did it, but the characters assume it was Springtrap since he did bring him in earlier. Even though I didn't have much to say, I did very much enjoy this, with CG5 singing and overall song itself. Ground Zero is going between Night 2 and Blood and Tears. It seems like FNaF the Musical could do no wrong. Let's see if this trend continues with... Released on August 23rd, 2019, it follows the story of Ground Zero, a year later where MatPat is now facing legal issues. he devises a plan to pin it all on Foxy to prevent his place from being shut down. When his niece Elizabeth, played by Adriana, walks in, alerting MatPat that his servers are almost done and his files will be backed up. MatPat yells at her, demanding that she wipes everything off the servers before leaving. Afterwards, we see him kidnap Foxy, while Elizabeth does what she is told before peeking around the files, trying to see if she can uncover the truth of her dead brother Mike from the last video. The song has her learn about the dark truth as Freddy and friends devise a plan to save Foxy. After doing some digging, she downloads some files that releases Glitch Trap, played by Casey Dywar, who is about to kill her until she fights back, escaping via a window. Meanwhile, Chica and others find a key to free Foxy from his cage that he's trapped in. This leads to Glitch Trap meeting up with the animatronics and deciding to kidnap them for unknown plans. That's where this one ends, and is probably my least favorite of them all. Everything here is good, don't get me wrong. I just feel as if the song itself isn't all that interesting or catchy compared to what I've seen so far. One good thing that could come out of this is this scene, which if I mute and play the Devilman sound of him being drunk, it actually comes out pretty funny.
Your ass is ass and I'm the grass man, punk, you haven't heathen.
It sucks, but something had to be at the bottom of the list, and this is it. Let's just hope we don't get something actually bad after watching. Released on August 5th, 2022, this follows Alexandra, played by Anna Barklelt, where this takes place before Ground Zero and Web of Lies. Since this is at Fredbear's, she presents the idea to MatPat of her creating new animatronics, but her ideas are shot down. She is told to go home and is about to until something calls out to her. She goes and sees something on the computer with a program she tries to open, but it's already running according to the computer. This is where Vanny shows up. The song purposely makes it unclear at first if Vanny is a virus, evil animatronic, or something in Alexandra's head. She stays in for the night, creating the trashing gang, as we see Vanny staying unnoticed by her throughout the video. I really like what they did with Vanny throughout this song. I mean, it just looks cool. The song ends with MatPat coming in talking about how terrible the things Alexandra made are. Once he storms off, Vanny makes her presence known and kills off Alexandra. The aftermath shows MatPat covering up the events to police by passing it off as something that was self-inflicted, and that is where the series ends, with the tease of Vanny returning for FNaF Dark Remains. Overall, I really enjoy this one. I love the visual and the song itself without knowing exactly what Vanny is at first. If I had to pick a spot for it, I'd say above Ground Zero, but before Night 2. We have our final ranking from quote-unquote worst to best. It's Web of Lies, Night 5, Blood and Tears, Ground Zero, The Monster in Your Head, Night 2, Night 3, Night 1, and lastly, Night 4. If there's one word I would use to describe not only their FNaF series, but Random Encounters as a whole, it would be charming. It's full of charm that keeps a smile on my face, even when they're doing other parodies. The other ones I suggest checking out are Pac-Man the Musical, Just Monica, and Bendy and the Ink Musical. Random Encounters shouldn't just be known as the people who made the FNaF musicals. Since it is one of their most viewed video, they should be remembered as the channel who made the most charming musics based on our favorite games. What the? Hey, what are you doing?